Riley Show. I'm your host, Dr. Anissa Riley. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Ask Dr. Riley Show. I am your host, Dr. Anissa Riley, and it is an honor and a privilege to be with you once again. Make sure you're getting your snacks, whether that is some type of adult beverage or some type of crunchy snack, whether it is potato chips, popcorn, some crunchy caramel, chocolate, whatever it is, just get it, sit down, relax, and enjoy. We have been talking about identity this season, and we have learned some things about identity that shows up in people's lives in different ways. And tonight is no different. My guest this evening will take you through her journey of what it means to be identified and how she moved from what her perceived ID was to what she now knows what her identity to be. So, welcome my guest, Monique Anderson. Hello. Woo! Yeah, you know, round the world clap, round the world clap, round the world clap. Yes. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with us today.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
And thank you for allowing us to step into your life and think about what it means to be identified. Mm-hmm. But before we get into the story, my first question is, what does identity mean to you?
Ooh, that is a much layered question, I feel like. Identity to me, now at where I am in my life, because it has changed. What it means to me is how I present myself to the world, who I am as, how I represent myself as God's child, as a child of God. I had to learn to accept that. I know prior, I wrapped my identity around the wrong things. So I had to come into a place where I was able to embrace being a daughter of a king and presenting myself to the world in that way, entering the room in that way and making sure that I represent him everywhere I go. Like I said, that wasn't always the case, as you said, like how identity was perceived. And I definitely grew up wrapping my identity around success or, you know, how much money you make or, you know, your status and, you know, growth in the world, right? In what the world perceives as successful, making a certain amount, driving a certain car, achieving a certain amount even by a certain age. I definitely wrapped my identity around that for a long period of time until I met God, and he changed all of that.
Well, we're going to get into that piece a little bit later, but you said something that I don't want us to lose. You said you wrapped your identity around the wrong things, and then you went on to describe some of those things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you wrapped them around success, and you wrapped them around a certain amount of money. You wrapped it around cars. Now, would I be correct in saying those are wrong things in your mind? Because some of us are like, gotta get the car, the cribs, and the cash. You understand what I'm saying?
So are they the wrong things? I mean, honestly, yes, because if you lose all those things, then who are you? Mm-hmm. I think when we wrap our identities around tangible items that can come and go, when we lose them, we lose who we are. We feel like we lose who we are. Like if I don't have this job and this title, who am I? If I you know, lose this income, if I lose this car, this apartment, it's like I don't know who I am now. Or even sometimes we wrap ourselves up in our relationships. If I lose this person in my life, who am I? So yeah, I do think those are the wrong things because they can come and go if that's who you identify as by the things that you attain. So I think it could be, dangerous to to do that.
So I think there are many of us who identify with cars and these tangible items that you are describing. And how do you think we begin to understand that our identity is attached to these tangible things, and then, as you say, we lose them, we're like, oh, who am I? But how do you think that starts? Like, where do you think that starting place is from? Well, what about you? What was your starting place to realize that, yeah, I need to be successful, and yeah, I need to do this, and X, Y, Z?
I think it was definitely my upbringing, what I saw growing up. My family are immigrants from Jamaica, and not saying that what they did was a small thing. Coming here and starting your life in a whole new country is a huge feat to me. But I think for them, it's like they were just happy to be here, and then that was it. I didn't necessarily see the desire to like attain more. And I remember looking around thinking, there's got to be more than just this. There has to be more, excuse me, than what I saw. Like, I wouldn't say I was, in poverty. I definitely didn't go without, but they just settled for just average, I guess, and I wanted more than average. So I just looked at that and said, you know what, I just want more. I want, and I think it was the era that I came up in. There was definitely that time where, I just had the mindset that like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you go to college, you get your degree, and you work for a Fortune 500 company, and you climb the corporate ladder, and you retire at 65 or whatever it is, and you get your little pen, and then you go about your business. I thought that's what, what you're supposed to do. And so, I worked in the fashion industry for 12 years, and I definitely wrapped my identity around getting to a certain level, a certain salary. I got to make this much before the age of 30 or 35 or whatever. And then when I got to a certain place, I realized I didn't even really get to where I wanted to, but when I got close to it, I already was feeling like this isn't fulfilling. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so that's when I realized oh, I'm really finding myself in trying to attain these things. And even though I'm on my way to it, I still was already feeling like, is this it? Like, is this who I'm supposed to be? So I had to start questioning those type of things once I started to attain certain things. It just wasn't filling me like I thought it would.
Every day we go about our lives driven by routine and blindfolded to the realities of the world around us. Our vision is clouded by the very normalcy we take for granted. Countless victims of human trafficking walk among us, seemingly invisible. Until now. The Blue Campaign provides a unified voice for those who oppose the heinous crime of human trafficking. Whether it's forced labor, domestic servitude, or the sex trade, it's time we open our eyes.
Sorry, I didn't even see you.
No one ever does.
Learn what you can do to help by visiting dhs.gov/bluecampaign.
Where are we flying? Well, I'm flying to Nashville today, since I'm a Real ID. Cool. I'll stay here and watch the screensaver.
Be your Real ID self by May 7th, 2025. Find out how at tsa.gov/Real ID.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place, and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/knowtherisks.
So would I be correct in assuming, or maybe you can tell us a little bit more, because I'm curious, you use the word filling and fulfilling around these external, tangible ideas or constructs that we have come to associate ourselves with identity. Oh, she is A, he is A, he makes this, he makes that, he has, she has, right? Like that's who it seems like the world is really talking about when they go, so what do you do? Right? So what do you do?
That's the first question they ask.
What do you do? What do you do? Right? And we always associate it with our job or our profession. But would you say that identity is connected to fulfillment? And if not, what do you think identity is connected to?
I think it is connected to fulfilling a purpose. Yes. Right. But I'm at a place now where I feel like it can't be a self-serving purpose. Like if it's a bigger purpose, something bigger than you, something outside of you, something outside of just your needs of attaining a salary, a place to live, whatever. I definitely think that can be a part of it, right? Like it can be fulfilling to do for others, and you may find your identity in what you do for other people and not so much what you're fulfilling for yourself. I don't know if that should be it per se. I don't know, but I think it's a better start, right? Because you're not just self-serving yourself. It's not just for you. If you're doing something that's fulfilling for other people and you're fulfilling your purpose in the world, something bigger to you, a bigger assignment than just your personal needs, I think that's a better way to go about, having your identity in something bigger than you.
And what do you say to, yeah, it does. It does. And my thing is, what do you say to people who are like, I'm always doing for others. I'm always putting outside for myself. And people just take advantage of me. And then they don't find purpose or they don't find that fulfilling because they're always doing for others. What do you say to those people?
I would ask, are you called to those people? I would ask, everyone that comes to you for a need is not necessarily who you're called to help, maybe. And I would say you may need to set some boundaries even. If you're, like, you have people that are like called to just helping their family members, I guess, or they're that one family member that everyone calls for everything. But I think if you're fulfilling a need that needs to be met, like a pain point, like something in you that, let's just say you have your soft spot is homeless people or something like that, and it's fulfilling to help feed the homeless, I don't know, or clothe the homeless or something of that nature. That might be a little bit different, where it doesn't feel like it's sucking something out of you, sucking the life out of you, because you're helping someone else. But if you're feeling like, oh, I already do for everybody and I don't have anything for myself, or et cetera, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons, right? Like, I feel like you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons, because if it's truly your purpose, your work, your purpose, it shouldn't feel like work. It shouldn't feel draining, and it shouldn't feel like you're being taken advantage of, like you mentioned. You should feel, like I said, you should feel fulfilled in doing so. And if you're not, you might want to question, why am I doing this? Am I just a yes man? Can I just not say no? I think it's just, I think you just have to question, what are you really doing it for? Like, is this really, something that grieves you, that you want to help in, or you just trying to people please? Yeah.
So have you found your purpose?
I think I have. Yes. When I first got saved, what year was that?
Well, for those of you who don't know what saved means.
Oh.
Let's just unpack that word just for our viewers. Everyone's on the same page.
I'm a believer and follower of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I believe he is my Lord and Savior.
Okay.
And that he died for me and died for my sins.
Okay.
So
So saved means what? Like,
I've been redeemed from my sins. He died on the cross to save me. I'm no longer a slave to my sins. And
we just
I
use a lot of
follow
churchy
him.
terms.
I'm sorry.
But what it basically like means is that if you believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, yes. Do you believe that he was a real man? Yes. Do you believe that he died? Yes. Do you believe that he rose again? Yes. You know what? If you believe all that in your heart and you said it with your mouth, boom, you're saved.
You're
1, 2,
saved.
3. That's it.
That's it.
Okay, so sometimes be a lot real churchy, but basically, if that's what you believe, then yeah, you're saved. Saved from what? We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yes.
But yeah.
But very early in my walk, God told me what my purpose was, what he wanted me to do.
So you hear from God?
Of course. You hear from God?
I hear from God, but I'm just saying some people may
Do
be
y'all
like,
hear from God?
you hear from God? Okay, so yeah, you hear from God.
Yes.
And we
I hear
ain't
from
crazy
God.
either.
No, we're not crazy. But no, I absolutely hear from God. And very early in my walk, because I didn't grow up in church. I didn't grow up with that foundation of like going to church every Sunday and growing up in, Bible school and all that stuff. I came to it very much later in life, in my late 30s probably. And so it was a little bit of a struggle for me to navigate that, like especially finding a church home, because I felt like when I did visit churches or come to a church, it was always, everybody already had their little clique. Like they've been going to church, they grew up together. Like they've been going to church together their whole life. And it's a little hard to navigate and find your way. And so very early on, God told me he wanted me to help others like me, others that are finding Christ later in life. And they are trying to navigate that space, and they're trying to find a community. And they're trying to even just understand what all of this is. Like you said, hearing from God, you hear from God. What does that sound like? What is that like? And he called me to that very early on, that he wanted me to help walk with others that are coming to that place where they feel like I think I need God. I think I need, a higher power, something bigger than me to, get me through life. Because that's how I got there. I felt I was in like a stuck place, and I was like, all right. I always believed in God, but I've never really had that relationship where I would talk to him or pray and all that. But I got to a point in my life where I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So I gave it to him, and I was just like, okay, God, I gave you the will. What you want me to do? And that's how it kind of started. And so I know my purpose is to help those like myself that are finding Christ later in life, and help walk with them and show them how to do this, and that, it's not scary.
Countless victims of human trafficking walk among us, invisible. Until now, the Blue Campaign provides a unified voice for those who work to combat human trafficking. It's time to open our eyes. Learn what you can do by visiting dhs.gov/bluecampaign.
So you just said a lot of abstract things, right? You talked about walking with Christ. You asked him, you talked about this experience, you talked about this relationship. But you also talked about something I think we can all identify with, where we get to a point in our life where we're like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, I followed this plan that I believed was the right plan, or followed this plan that my family had for me, or followed this plan that society said was the right way, right? And then you obtain it, like you said, you got to this level in your profession, and you were like, this is it? Right? And I think many of us have experienced that. And then you get to this, I'll call it the crossroads, and you're deciding what to do. Society sometimes call it a midlife crisis. People start buying Ferraris. I don't know why Ferraris are associated with a midlife crisis. Like you like a nice car, you like a nice car. Or they just up and quit their job, or they sell all their possessions and they move across to the other side of the globe. And in some very unfortunate incidences, people, take another way and do harm to themselves and, maybe, become alcoholics or misuse drugs, and in the most harrowing situations, suicide. If you're someone who has been thinking about suicide because you're stuck, first I want you to call the hotline, but know that there is another way to live, and you can contact us if you need any questions, but most importantly, reach out to the suicide hotline. But you didn't choose any of those ways.
No.
Right? You said you chose God. Now, God for some of us is this abstract thing. Just abstract, like it's invisible.
Right. It's not a tangible.
Right. It's not a tangible thing. Drugs are tangible. Ferrari is tangible. Yeah. These things are tangible. So how did you step away or not give into these tangible things and embrace this intangible God, and then say, wait a minute, I identify with this invisible idea.
Right. Well, first,
because you're 30 now, you got some sense. You're in your late 30s, right? You just experience some things. Right. You understand reality. You're not, under your parents' religion. Because there's a lot of us who accept the religion of our parents. Yeah. Right? Or you grew up in it, right? Yeah. And you should know something. You're 30. You're world traveled. You had a profession. So what happened that in your late part of your life, you accepted this intangible thing?
Well, first, the reason why I didn't go the other route with, drug use or suicide thoughts and all that, not for nothing, to be honest, I'm a punk, I'm scary, I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it.
And that doesn't mean that those who are doing it are brave.
Right, no, not saying that at all.
Right, that doesn't mean that. It's just that some of us may have a high tolerance for pain. Some of us may see that that's the only way out. And for those of you who are thinking that's the only way out, trust me, it is not. Yeah. All right? And so in your mind, that was something that you just couldn't connect with, because there are ways to do it that don't hurt yourself. Because there's people who take pills and go to sleep, right? Like there's people who do that. Yeah. So it's not about being brave. It's just that just wasn't something that you saw as the pathway.
I just knew those things don't help me. They wouldn't help me.
Okay.
They would not help me. How I knew to turn to God, I'll be honest, I don't know. Like, I remember the moment. I was, like I said,
take us to that moment.
And I was cursing God out. I was mad at God. And it's so weird because I was having this, like, you would have thought he was in the passenger seat with me. I was having this real full-blown conversation with God, like, you made me go back to school. You made me spend all this money. At the time I was engaged to my now husband, and I was like, I could use that money for my wedding. Like, I'm going in on him, like, and the whole ride home, I'm like really angry. And I got to a point where I just paused and stopped talking, and I audibly heard him say, "Are you done? Are you finished?"